Most people say they value different perspectives until they actually hear one. Having a perspective can be powerful. It's how we establish who we are, what we value, what we believe. It feels like self-authorship, and most people say they value that. But many of us have experienced something strange. You express a perspective that's different, and suddenly the reaction changes. You see this happen in families all the time. A family might say, "This is our religion. This is our political leaning." And they also tell you, "We love you no matter what. You can tell us anything." So you open up. You share something about yourself that's different. Maybe a belief, maybe a lifestyle, maybe a way of thinking. And instead of curiosity, you get a reaction. Suddenly you hear something like, "This is not who you are. That's not what this family believes." And you're left thinking, wait, what just happened? A minute ago they said they accept everyone. Now they're pushing back the moment something different appears. So you wonder, why did they react that way? What are they actually protecting? For a long time, I assumed misunderstandings were pretty simple. People just didn't have the right information, or the explanation hadn't been delivered in the right way. And a lot of us have believed that, because we've all had moments where our perspectives have changed. Maybe we overreacted emotionally. Maybe we're stubborn about something. Then we hear a new idea and think, wow, I never thought about it that way. And when that happens, it feels good. It feels like upgrading the lens that we see the world through. But think about this for a moment. How long did you hold some of your old beliefs before the moment had happened? Years? Maybe decades? And does that mean that you were emotional or stubborn or unintelligent? Or does it mean something else was happening? Maybe your brain was protecting your identity until it was ready to grow. We're all familiar with the metaphor of the two voices on our shoulders, the good angel and the bad angel. One voice says, "Take the easy route, give yourself a break, do what feels comfortable." The other voice says, "You can do better, push yourself, try harder." Most people think of this as a battle between good and bad. But something more interesting is actually happening there. Those two voices are a simple example of what I like to call stabilizers and regulators. And this isn't about morality. It's about how our internal systems manage comfort and growth. Stabilizers protect what already feels safe. They secure identity. They keep things familiar, predictable, and psychologically comfortable. Regulators do something different. They allow us to pause, ask questions, and adapt when new information appears. Regulators are what allows us to grow, but growth comes with discomfort. So our brains often default to stabilizers first. And simply put, stabilizers protect comfort, regulators protect growth. And the key insight to this is, both are necessary for us to thrive. Let's look at how this shows up in everyday life. At work, a manager might already be under pressure, deadlines, targets, expectations from leadership. So their focus becomes the end result. A mistake happens. The numbers miss the target. And they react with something like this. Didn't we talk about this already? But notice what isn't being asked. They're not asking what happened, what variables caused the miss, what obstacles were in the way, what could we adjust next time? Those questions require curiosity. And instead, it's easier to assign blame and just move on. And underneath the reaction is stabilizers protecting identity. The manager might be thinking, "I'm a good manager. I deserve a promotion. This can't be my fault." So the stabilizer activates. Blame protects identity. Curiosity would challenge it. And we see the same pattern at home. You get home after a stressful day, the house is messy, dinner isn't ready, your spouse barely acknowledged you. And the thought appears, did you even do anything today? But again, notice what isn't being asked. What kind of day did they have? What mental capacity did they have left? Were priorities even discussed beforehand? Instead, we default to stabilizing stories. I'm the hard worker, I'm underappreciated, I'm the one keeping this together. The stabilizer protects our sense of effort and fairness, but a regulator would pause and ask, what actually happened? Different environment, same psychological pattern. And of course, we see it in politics. You see a neighbor put out a lawn sign for a candidate that you believe will ruin everything. Immediately, the thought appears, how could someone be this stupid? even if you had friendly conversations with that neighbor for years. But are we asking, why do they believe what they believe? What experiences shape their perspective? What problems matter most to them? Usually not. Instead, we stabilize around our tribe. We're the rational ones, we're the moral ones, we're the informed ones. And just like that, curiosity disappears. And across all these situations, the pattern's the same. When tension appears, we choose comfort over curiosity. Stabilizers protect identity, regulators examine reality. And the growth only happens when we tolerate the discomfort regulators require, which is also why regulators are hard to build. They require something most people aren't trained to do. They require tolerance for dissonance, the ability to hold multiple perspectives at the same time. To say, if A is true and B is also true, what does that mean about the situation? And that requires something many people struggle to say. I don't know. The moment it's uncomfortable, but it's also where growth begins. Because it creates space to say, maybe I don't have the full picture. Maybe the situation's more complex than I thought. Maybe something I believed needs to evolve. And growth almost always requires a temporary destabilization of what we believe, which is also why regulators are difficult. Most people don't resist growth. They resist the instability growth requires. So how do we strengthen our regulators? There's a few simple habits that do help. Rule 1, delay your reaction. When frustration or certainty appears, pause. Ask yourself, am I reacting to feel better, or am I trying to understand what's actually happening? That pause gives regulators a chance to activate. Rule 2, ask better questions. Most people would jump straight to statements. Regulators start with curiosity. Why did this happen? What assumptions led to this outcome? What systems produce these results? And better questions create better understanding. Rule 3, separate ideas from identity. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we misunderstand situations. Sometimes environments simply aren't the right fit. And that's okay. Being wrong about an idea doesn't mean that you're wrong as a person. When ideas and identity separate, learning becomes possible. Most people try to win conversations. Regulators try to understand situations. Something interesting happens when we practice this. Our regulators get stronger. And over time, we become more comfortable doing something that many people avoid. Thinking before reacting. Even more interesting, when we model that behavior, other people start to see that it's okay to do the same. And it's okay to admit uncertainty. It's okay to not have all the answers. And when this happens, conversations change. Because many conflicts aren't actually about truth. They're about protecting identity and keeping the group comfortable. If we want better leaders, better conversations, and better systems, we need stronger regulators. We can't control everyone else, but we can control how we show up. And that process starts with understanding the system shaping how we think. And that's really the mission behind this channel, to explore the hidden systems shaping how we think, grow, and interact with the world. Because when we improve those systems, we improve the lives of the people inside them, including ourselves. And that work starts with understanding how we think. And on that note, all, appreciate you. And as always, we'll talk soon.